Hey, what's up all of you beautiful subscribers? Welcome back to the Chapple Show. So how should you invest in your 20s? That's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's go over, a typical situation for someone in their 20s. Okay, typical situation. You generally have low expenses. So you usually do not have a family yet. You're usually paying a low amount of rent. You don't have a big giant mortgage. You might have some student loans. Actually, you have on average, the average 20, 25, 28-year-old has about $30,000 in student loans. We'll go over that in a second here. And your job, your income is typically at the lowest point it will be in your life, apart from, as soon as you join the workforce, right? So we're not including when you're a teenager and being a camp counselor or whatever, right? So typically you're making, 25, 30, 35, even 40 grand a year, sometimes a little bit more depending on what your degree, if you got a degree, what your first job is. Anyways, that's the typical situation. Low expenses, low income, some debt. That's what typically the situation of a 20-year-old. So what should you do? How should you invest in your 20s? How should this person invest in their 20s? Well, the first thing to do is a little bit surprising. We're going to get to some stuff that you're looking for, I'm guessing, right after this one, but this is important. Pay off loans. Specifically stud. Pay off stud loans. So this is something, it may not be for everyone right away, but I'll give you an example of why this could be a really good thing to do first before you actually get to some actual investing that you guys are looking for. So the average student in the United States has about $30,000, sometimes $40,000 worth of student loan debt. This is usually at about a 6% interest rate. Some people get 4.5%, some people it's closer to 8%. We're just going to say 6%, and usually the student loan is a 10-year term. So those are the numbers, okay. So for this student loan that I just mentioned here, you're going to be paying about $400 a month in minimum payments. About $400 a month. Sometimes it's cheaper. It really depends on the kind of loan you get. But we're going to say $400 a month. So if this is paid off with making your regular payments over the course of 10 years, and you took out, let's say it's a $30,000 total loan, right? You only took out $30,000 total. This is what this is for. And it's 6% interest, 10 years. The total you're going to pay for this $30K loan is actually going to be closer to about $50,000. So you're going to be burning about $20,000 if you just make regular payments on this. Now, if you're making minimum payments, this is much worse. Or minimum payments, or maybe you miss a few payments, and then, a bunch of crazy stuff. It depends on what kind of loan you're getting. But if you're making minimum payments, if you miss some of the payments, I've seen some people where their original 30K loan, 40K loan, 50K loan, I actually saw this on Reddit, that turns into over $100,000 worth of payments. Simply because you cannot make some of the minimums, sometimes you miss, and it just goes on. Sometimes you get an extension. You have to pay, sometimes on that 30K loan, you're paying $100,000. And you're doing that, you're burning 70K by the time you're 30 for a lot of people. And so one of the best things you can do is that when you think about it, the interest rate's 6%, that's about the average rate of return of the stock market. And so if you were to get rid of this debt, you're freeing up, freeing up $400 a month. And so in the stock market, it's a little bit different. You can make more, you can make 10%, 15%, you could also lose 10 to 15%. But the average is 6%. But there's some risk in the stock market. This, if you were to pay off your debt, that's a guaranteed return on investment. And so if this is a situation, this is what I recommend too with people close to me, is that before you get into investing in stuff too, because I know how they are with money, is that pay off your debts first. Because generally that'll free up enough money for you to have some free cash flow, and then use that money to invest. Pay off your debts first. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Let's go, what do I have here? Yes, that's right. So the next thing, this thing is like, oh, what do you mean? This is what I always get. And people don't really know what this means, but it's yourself. And this is, again, I've mentioned this so much, this is probably the number one thing you can do, just period, of investing. Is investing in yourself. And this is something that, again, I forget, I don't know if I've told this story, I must have, but I was supposed to go work for someone about 2 years ago, a year and a half, no, was it 2 years ago now? And it was this person, they're building an app, and they wanted me to help out, they would pay me a salary, and I'd get some commissions too, because I was a sales guy at the time. And I said, no, I am not going to do that. And I had a long conversation with them, about 30 minutes, no, about an hour. It was about an hour or so, just sitting and talking. And I said, I don't think I can do this because I need to go off and branch off. And I had some side gigs at the time, side businesses that were taking off. I'm like, I got to pursue those. I got to bet on myself. And that's what he said. He's like, I get it. I did the same thing when I was your age and it paid off. The guy's almost a multimillionaire now. Or I think so. I don't know. Somewhere he's worth millions of dollars right now. And because he bet on himself. And so what do you mean by bet on yourself is that, so there's a few things you could do, is just try to improve yourself. So make yourself more valuable to an employer. So that's like get better skills. So you could go buy a course, right? Go learn how to code, do a coding boot camp, go to college, go to university, you get certified as a personal trainer. Do something where you can improve your job capabilities, your career capabilities. Learn some skills. That's one of the best things that you can do. And so what this does, why this is the best, is because, well, it improves top line. Invest in yourself because it improves your top line income. So when you're going through top line, so when you're going through a business statement, your top line is your gross revenue, and your bottom line is your profits. So if you were to increase one of the toughest things to do just in life as an employee is to increase your top line, which is why a lot of entrepreneurs like myself, a lot of entrepreneurs like you listening, watching out there, is a lot of you do not want to be a salaried employee. And I totally get that. I hated that. I did not like that whatsoever. And so one of the hardest things to do as an employee is to, again, increase that top line revenue, which is why a lot of you out there go for jobs where it's more commission based, a lot more risk, but a lot more reward. So a lot of you go out there, try to start a business. Some go to become a stockbroker. Some of you try to become a real estate broker, real estate agent. There's tons of jobs like that out there. Just a random salesperson at a telecom company. I see a bunch of people like that in Ontario do that. Work at like Rogers or Bell for just work in sales, get paid by commission. It happens. So invest in yourself because that increases your top line. So yeah, a lot of middle class people making about $57,000 a year, whatever the median household income is right now, making about $57,000 a year. It's really tough if you got a degree in like psychology and then you go work in an HR department somewhere. It's really tough for you to keep climbing up that ladder if you're an employee and there's kind of this top level that you can reach. And if you're working in like an HR department, there's a head of HR, but that might get paid, depending on the company, $50,000, $100,000, sometimes more if it's a giant tech company. But if you're a real estate agent, and so that process would take you years to climb up the company, by the way, like decades to get paid from $40,000, $50,000 to $100,000. Sometimes that takes decades. If you're a real estate agent, that could take you 1 year. It could take, now usually if you're young, it might take a few years, but it could take you 1 year to make that much money if you're a good salesperson. So invest in yourself, top line. Do you guys like commission-based jobs, by the way? Let me know in the comments down below. Or how many of you are entrepreneurs or just would prefer a commission-based job? I know there's an ideal scenario where you get paid a base level salary to like pay rent and pay groceries, and then on top of that you get paid commission. That's a pretty good job. I had one of those actually. So let's move on here. So the best thing you can do is invest in yourself. So here's an example. In Canada, people with bachelor's degrees earn about $75,000 per year, and in high school it's about $45,000 per year. And so why is that? Well, it's like what I mentioned before. So there's a $30,000 a year difference in there. That's because the person with an undergrad degree either has more skills or is perceived to have more skills by an employer. So if you have an undergrad degree in chemistry, you can get a job as an assistant researcher somewhere. Meanwhile, someone who just came fresh out of high school who got an A in chemistry, they're not getting that job. There's zero chance. So you have more in-depth skills. You're able to get that job. Again, one of the best things you could do still, even though some undergrads degrees are absolutely terrible. Some are absolutely terrible. I hate to pick, there's some, I know I'm not even going to mention them anymore, but there are some really terrible ones out there which provide no value, zero value to an employer. And yet people go and spend $100,000 over the course of 4 years to do them. And So anyways, if you're going to go get an undergrad degree to improve your skills, make sure that you pick a degree which has some use. That's really important. Okay, let's move on here. Let's see. Another thing you could do to invest is learn how to save. This, again, we'll move on from this one pretty quickly here. But remember how I said the top line revenue is tough to increase? Now let's say you're making a really good top line revenue. You're making $300,000 a year. You're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a top partner at some company, you're an executive somewhere. What happens with a lot of these people is they make $300,000 a year. However, they will spend $280,000 a year, $290,000 a year. And if they were to get sick, if they were to miss a few weeks of work, maybe they get laid off, their lifestyle goes to zero. And a lot of the times that actually leads to some mental health problems too after that. But again, so learn how to save. Someone making $70,000 a year and only spending $20,000 a year, I'm going to make a video on this actually, $70,000 and $20,000 a year will end up being wealthier in the long run than someone who makes $300,000 a year and like with rent and groceries and that flying and traveling all over the place and paying $280,000, the person making 70 grand and saving all their money and investing it properly is going to end up being wealthier than the person making 300K and spending 280, 290 on dumb stuff. It's kind of crazy. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, investing in your 20s. So this is the tough one because it is tough to get into in your 20s specifically because usually people in their 20s have no money. But investing in real estate, it could be good, but it's tough because again, you have no money. If you're 24 years old, you have no money. And so a lot of the times you have to go out there looking for certain deals, looking for investors. Banks aren't going to give you any money. I mean, I was balling last year, right? I was completely balling. And because I wasn't making balling money for long enough, I couldn't buy a house. And that ended up being a good decision. Actually, I'm glad that they rejected me because it made me really, really pursue the tech stuff here. And it's been going great so far. So I'm really happy with that. But here's the thing. Yeah. So again, it's tough to get into real estate in your 20s. However, if you have the opportunity, maybe you're 26, maybe you've been in the workforce for longer than I have. All right, I'm only 24 years old. If you're 26, you've had 4 years of good credit working at some job, you have an undergraduate degree, and maybe you're making $50,000 a year somewhere, you know, maybe look for a house. Maybe look for a $200,000 duplex if you have one of those in your area. I know if you're from LA or New York, you're not going to buy a house, right? You just can't. However, that's only, you know, 2 of the however many states are in the US, 50 something. I don't know. I'm Canadian. Don't blame me for not knowing how many states there are. 52 in the United States. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, but if you're living anywhere outside of a city and there's reasonable priced real estate in your area, like if the average home price is about $300,000, $400,000 in your area, which it is around here, it could be affordable. You could find some duplex for $200,000 that you could maybe fix up. And so here's the good thing about that. If that were to happen, is that let's say you have a duplex. So you have 2 units. You live in one, you rent out the other. Let's say the entire mortgage, because it's cheaper to buy a house than to actually rent on a per month basis, significantly cheaper. The entire mortgage for the place is $1,100 or something, somewhere around there. If you were to rent out the place beside you for, let's say, $1,000, maybe it's a 2-bedroom place, $1,000, maybe it's a 1-bedroom for $1,000, who knows? Then you're living for free. And you're paying off the mortgage. Someone else is paying off the mortgage for you. And so this is what I really like about it. There's a bunch of tax benefits that come with it. You're living for free. And the biggest thing is that real estate is a positive feedback loop. What does that mean? It means that the more money you make and the more loans you pay off using rent money, and the more credible of an investor you become, the easier it is for banks to trust you and to take out another loan to rent out a property. That's what happens. That's what happens. So it can be a positive feedback loop. If you were able to find an opportunity when you're 20, 22, 24, 26 years old, down the line, if you really want to get into real estate investing and you have some side business that's going really well, you could easily make $1 million, millions of dollars from real estate if you start early enough. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing here. Let's talk about stocks. And we're just going to say savings account, so SA. SA, so like Roth IRA, retirement savings accounts, things along those lines. So this is a slower positive feedback loop, investing in stocks and savings accounts. So stocks, you know, people like to invest in stocks on YouTube that just like to buy and then sell them in 2 months or 6 months, or buy them and sell them in 1 week. You know, I invest like you're investing for a really long time, like 5-10 years, and I look for high dividend stocks. So if you're investing in dividend stocks specifically, ones that pay you 3-4% and probably go up 3 or 4% a year, like a lot of stocks do, then you're getting a good return every year. And if you keep reinvesting all that money and putting more money into the portfolio, it's so easy for you to become a millionaire by the time you're 50 years old. It's really easy for you to be wealthy by the time you want to retire. You could probably retire really early if you wanted to, if you did that at a young age, like in your 20s. So stocks is a really good way to go. So just, again, like if you're investing $400, $500 a month into stocks, by the time you're 60, you're a millionaire, for sure. You're probably beyond a millionaire if you invested really well. I mean, if you invested more than $500 a month, let's say you do $1,000 a month, you're multimillionaire. That happens. If you do it over the course of 40 years, start when you're 20, 25 years old, do it until you're 60, you could do whatever you wanted. You could live whatever life you wanted, right? So we're going to talk about a couple more things here. So one of the things is investing in your 20s could also mean, I got to mention this, start a business. So this, apart from investing in yourself, it kind of goes along the same lines here. But this is probably the number 2 thing you could do if you want to be an entrepreneur, or if you want to just, you know, potentially have a really ball in life at one point. You got to take that risk. So starting a business in your 20s, I mean, it's the best time to start. It's when you have low expenses, you don't have a family, you don't have responsibilities, you can stay at the office for 48 hours, no one's going to notice you. So I mean, it's a great time to start. The trouble is that you have no money to start, right? So you got to find a way to save up some money. Saving up 5, 10, 15, 20 grand, that's usually enough for you to start a business. For tech, you could even jump in for lower than that. If you want to start, I mean, more of like restaurants or retail, you're going to need closer to 20. If you want to start a really good restaurant, you're going to need about $50,000 to $100,000. But I mean, it really depends on the business. But so you have no money, but you have no responsibilities. So look for low-cost businesses to start. Maybe look at FBA, look at Amazon FBA, look at Joisk. We fulfill T-shirts now, right? So we're going to start actually a fulfillment process really soon for anything. I think I'm going to really try to hammer that down soon. But I mean, try to look to sell stuff where you only have to pay $1,000 to get started. For Amazon FBA, the cost to get in, if you were to buy stuff from Alibaba, resell it on Amazon, the cost just to get that started was about $1,000. And so if you have some sort of side business you could start like that, maybe use that money and start your own tech business, like what I did. That's pretty much what I did. I funneled out a lot of the money that I was making from other side jobs and put it into a tech business, which is now pretty much my main business right now. I mean, it's going to get to that point pretty soon. That's actually kind of scary to think about. Wow. Anyways, sorry, that just connected for the first time. That was like, whoa, okay, that's strange. Anyways, so yeah, start a business. I would say that if you want to become a billionaire, which the chances of that happening are small, but if you wanted to become a billionaire or live a really ball in life, you pretty much have to start a business in your 20s and early 30s. If you want to become a billionaire specifically, almost every one of them started, whatever company made them a billionaire, they started in their 20s or 30s. There are exceptions to that, obviously, tons of exceptions all over the place. But again, if you really want to build up a giant company, you tend to have to start something. It may not be the main business that you have when you're 50, but you have to start some business when you're 20. I mean, look at Gary Vee. He worked at his dad's wine store, grew it to $60 million, took some money, started VaynerMedia, started Vayner Sports. So he took some of the money, and I think he didn't take a bunch though. He took some of the money. I think he was making about 100K or something, he said. Some of that money, and he took a lot of the rep he got from that and put that into VaynerMedia, which is now worth, what, $400 million, $500 million, somewhere around there. I don't know what the revenue is, somewhere around a few hundred million. So again, that's something that you guys should think about too. It's kind of weird to think about for me. I just said that the business that might make you money in your 20s might not be the one that makes you super rich when you're in your 30s and 40s. Now I'm just picturing myself with Joisk, all right, if this were to grow, maybe it's not the business for me in the future. That's weird. That's the first time I've thought about that. I'm like, I've never even thought about the far future of this. I'm still worried about coding this day to day. So anyways, I think that's going to wrap this up for now. So what do you guys think about this? I think, again, we covered pretty much everything. We covered personal finance stuff you could do, some of the stocks investing stuff you could do in starting a business, investing in yourself. I mean, these are the key things that you got to do. So anyways, what do you guys think of all this? Let me know in the comments down below. Did I miss anything? What are you guys going to do with your money in your 20s? Let me know. I want to hear. So thank you very much for watching. Remember to check out joisk.com. It's my own e-commerce marketplace and my own business that I started technically in my 20s now. I'm 24. When did I start? I started this last year, right? So 23 I started. Although it really launched like a month ago, and I'm still testing it out. I'm still testing it out. We've had good results, but I'm still testing. So give me a break here. Okay, that's gonna wrap this up. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. You're all very beautiful people. I'll see you guys in the next video.